Good afternoon. Welcome to the weekly livestock market update. I'm Brownfield anchor reporter Brent Barnett, filling in for Megan Grebner this week, and back with us again to talk all things markets is University of Missouri's Scott Brown. Scott, I'm happy to be here to pinch hit this afternoon. How's it been going for you?
It's been going good, Brent. It's good to get to Friday.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't know what it's been like for you guys weather-wise, but where I'm at in South Central Iowa, I feel like it was kind of on the warm side last week, but I mean, now we've got some freeze warnings heading into the weekend. How about you guys?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get quite that cold, but certainly our first big taste of fall coming this weekend, and before long, you'll know it. Before long, we'll have snow on the ground.
I know it seems like the time's moving fast here, and I know a lot of the farmers we're talking to, they're just harvesting away. They've had a good window here to get crops out, but we do have a lot to get to today on the livestock side of things, and let's start off with just kind of a recap of what happened this week in the markets.
Yeah, if we start on the cattle side this week, we had live fed cattle that were $1.30 higher this week. Those feeder cattle auctions were generally steady to $2 lower this week. On the futures side, the December live cattle futures contract was up 90 cents, and the November feeder cattle contract was up 70 cents. We also got strength this week in the choice box beef price. It was up about 50 cents this week. That was really what was stronger ribs and chucks that got us higher choice box beef on the week. On the hog side, cash barrels and gilts this week were down $1.30. The lean hog futures contract was up 68 cents, and the pork cutout value gained nearly 90 cents on primarily strengthened hams and bellies.
Now, of course, Scott, buyers and traders seem to have been leery of the U.S. economy, also interest rates, inflation. What does this mean for the live and feeder cattle markets right now?
Yeah, so I think, we look and we're searching, right? So we have a number of these domestic economic issues that I think have us a little bit concerned about what consumers do in terms of buying habits going forward. I will say thus far, demand has been really strong for, what we see happening for beef and pork in particular. So I think there's still this worry about the anticipation going forward. Now, are we seeing things like consumers buying down? I think we see examples of that in what's been higher ground beef prices, but lower steak prices on the year. So maybe buying a little cheaper protein as a way to try to help themselves in what's tougher economic times. And I'll say, given interest rates, we don't know how much further we might see increases in interest rates going forward, but it'll continue to cool the economy as we continue to push those rates higher.
Box beef market saw some support this week. Now, Scott, have we seen box beef prices maybe find their bottom for the season?
I'm not ready to necessarily say we found that bottom, but at the same time, I hope the answer is yes to that. When you look at where choice box beef is relative to a year ago, we're still almost $40 below year ago levels. I often remind us that we have gotten margins from farm to wholesale to narrow quite a bit as we've gone through 2022. Unfortunately, it's come at both ends. So lower box beef prices and higher cattle prices. I'd hope we get narrowing as coming from higher cattle prices more than box beef. So we're gonna have to watch. Maybe we're still not quite all the way to the bottom of where we could go on choice box beef.
And again, on those lean hog markets you were talking about, seem to have had a pretty good rally through Thursday. Did we see things kind of run out of steam as we headed into the weekend?
Yeah, I think we have seen a little bit of that happening as we got here to the end of the week. And still, I'll say not all in all bad. 90 cents higher on that pork cutout value for the week. We're much closer to year ago levels on the pork side. And so I guess I'm a little less concerned given what we've been seeing there, but we'll watch as the next week unfolds here.
Sure. Let's hit on exports a little bit. Fresh beef imports this week. We saw Canada, Mexico, even Australia handle kind of the bulk of the trade there. So, Scott, what kind of trends have we been seeing year over year for both, the fresh beef and the processed beef imports?
Yeah. So if we look at exports of U.S. beef to begin with out of the United States year to date up 5.9%. That certainly is some positives, and of course we answer China right away on that front. I will say South Korea was also up, Mexico was also up. We got other markets going higher. On the import side, for August, 271 million pounds of beef imports into the United States. We are running about 8.4% above year-ago levels there. I think that has a little bit to do with just strength in prices that we're seeing here in the United States.
Also, Scott, a lot of folks keeping a close eye on the strength of the dollar. Do you think that this could leave some export potential in question?
Yeah, for sure. I think, with the strength of the dollar, it certainly makes our products more expensive to other parts of the world. I'll say it matters a little bit. We often talk about the strength of the dollar, but when we look at the strength of the dollar relative to the Mexican peso's actually held fairly well relative to the dollar. So I think that's, helpful in terms of getting Mexico to go up. And, if we look in particular at pork exports to Mexico, we've been up 21% year to date. So a lot of good news on that front. I do worry about the dollar going forward. I will say there aren't many great alternatives, however, for these countries to look to competitive sources of beef and pork, as we haven't just seen a lot of growth in production in many parts of the world.
Let's also talk the slaughter numbers. As we take a look at those, how are we running on the cattle and hog side of things?
Yeah, if we look at weekly slaughter for the week ending October 8th, USDA told us 664,000 head of cattle to be slaughtered this week. That is unchanged from where we were a week ago and up 7,000 head relative to a year ago. On the hog side, a run of 2.558 million head. That's 71,000 above a week ago, but 41,000 head below where we were a year ago.
And, we just continue to hear about some of the labor challenges impacting the industry. That's, it's been a big topic this year. And what did we see in the latest jobs report, Scott?
Yeah, so I would say we got a predictable jobs report. It's interesting that, there's this, we don't want jobs to grow too fast because that probably makes the Fed continue to increase interest rates. But the report gave us 263,000 jobs added in September. That is the smallest monthly increase since April of this year. We did see an unemployment rate drop to 3.5%. That matches the 5-decade low level that we've been at. The 263,000 jobs, that's pretty close to where pre-report estimates were. The survey of economists came in at about 255,000. So perhaps, although a slower jobs number, it's given folks some hope that maybe we are starting to kind of slow down some of the inflation that might be coming ahead. So we'll have to wait and look at future jobs reports. But this one certainly didn't suggest the economy's continuing to be on fire, I guess, at this point.
Sure. Now, again, I know we talked a little bit about exports already, but what was seen this week with the monthly trade data?
Yep. So again, total year-to-date beef exports, 2.4 billion pounds. That's 6% above year-ago levels. China matters in this discussion in terms of just the growth that we've been seeing. China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, all three countries up nearly 15%. On the pork side, pork exports, 512 million pounds in August. That leaves us with 4.145 billion pounds year to date. Unfortunately, down about 15% relative to a year ago. China continues to be the most important there, but also Japan year to date's down 12.5% as well. So a little different story in terms of beef versus pork is what we got out of that August report.
Well, Scott, it's been kind of quiet maybe here the last couple of weeks, but sounds like things should be picking up the rest of the month. Maybe talk about what we have coming up ahead.
Yeah, if we look at next week's reports, it'll be interesting to see what USDA says in the WASDE release next Wednesday. We also then get some more retail data in terms of retail prices and consumer sentiment to finish out the week next week.
Sounds good. Well, again, I was helping fill in for Megan Grebner today. She should be back with you next week, Scott. So you'll be back in the regular rotation there.
Sounds good, Brant. Thanks for joining today.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be here and help out. And just a reminder, if you want to have our weekly livestock market update delivered to your email box every Saturday morning, visit our website, brownfieldagnews.com, and you can submit some questions and comments there as well. Also, make sure to check out all the Brownfield podcasts. Those are available at brownfieldagnews.com/podcast. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us here on the weekly livestock market update. I'm Brent Barnett on Brownfield.